headlines this hour. President reaffirms the urgent need to safeguard Maldivian children from harmful influences. President stresses the urgency of preparing children to navigate the sweeping transformations reshaping the world. Minister of Social and Family Development Dr. Aishad Shiham's government is committed to ensuring that every child is raised in the security and care of a family environment.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. A very warm welcome to PSM News in English. I am your host, Arshi Mohammed Sharif. On the occasion of Children's Day, I would like to wish all the young viewers nothing but a happy and inspiring Children's Day. Looking into the details of today's headlines, President Dr. Mohammad Muiz, in a National Children's Day address, reaffirms the urgent need to safeguard Maldivian children from harmful influences, describing their upbringing as the greatest assurance for a prosperous future. He characterized children as the delight of our eyes and the comfort of our souls, underscoring their fundamental role in shaping the nation's destiny.
Marking the significance of the occasion, the President called for a collective resolve to protect children from negativity, describing Children's Day as a moment that connects the nation's present joy with its hopes for tomorrow. He pointed out that children comprise 1/4 of the Maldivian population and, in time, will assume the responsibility of leading the country. The development into a capable generation, one that safeguards Maldivian sovereignty, dignity, and cultural identity, is a national duty, he asserted. Referencing the teachings of the noble Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, President Muiz stressed the purity with which every child is born and the role of guardians in shaping their character and beliefs. Children inherently embody innocence and sincerity with their nature, he started. They perceive adults as protectors, mentors, and supporters, always remaining receptive to the wisdom of the elders. Their behavior often mirrors the actions and examples set by those around them. Beyond protecting children from harmful influences, the President highlighted the importance of fostering a society built on mutual respect and good manners, whether at home or in public spaces. He called for an education system that equips children with the skills needed for the modern era, ensuring they are prepared to carry forward the nation's legacy as patriotic Maldivian Muslim youth. Turning his message directly to children, President Muiz urged them to recognize the value of their formative years. He encouraged them to dedicate every day to acquiring knowledge and striving for personal growth. He reminded them of their religious duties, the significance of Maldivian traditions, and the need to cultivate a profound love for their country, akin to the love they have for their mother. He also cautioned against wasting time, stressed the importance of healthy habits, and reinforced the need to respect and obedience. Reaffirming his commitment to the younger generation, President Muiz declared that children are the embodiment of the Maldives' future, with their growth and success determining the nation's path forward.
President Dr. Mohammad Muiz stresses the urgency of preparing children to navigate the sweeping transformations reshaping the world, warning that their ability to adapt will be crucial to the long-term stability of the Maldives. In a statement on National Children's Day, observed on 10th May, the President stressed that today's children will define the nation's future and must be empowered to meet the evolving challenges ahead.
In his statement posted on social media, President Muiz extended his best wishes to children and their families, calling for a concerted national effort to strengthen the next generation's resilience. He likened the task to steering a nation through uncharted waters, arguing that the foundations of future leadership must be laid now. The theme of this year's National Children's Day, Happy Relationships, Happy Moments, Happy Children, underscores the profound role of parental involvement in child development. The theme highlights the lasting impact of meaningful engagement and notes that children will thrive when surrounded by love and encouragement. It stresses that strong familial bonds not only shape character but also provide the emotional stability and support necessary for social and psychological well-being. Ensuring this foundation remains a priority for the government of President Muiz, which continues to implement initiatives aimed at creating a secure and nurturing environment for children. Programs focused on safeguarding their rights, enhancing their welfare, and fostering holistic development remain central to national policy.
President Dr. Mohammad Muiz urges his political rivals to partner with the government's digitization initiative designed to eradicate corruption and abuse of power. Responding to criticism by some senior opposition members over the Maldives 2.0 digitization initiative, President Dr. Muiz, in a post on his social media platforms, said the initiative is the biggest step to eradicate corruption while giving every citizen complete control and empowerment of their data.
The president said the system also elevates public service to ensure transparency, swiftness, and convenience for the people. This will also facilitate the Maldives to climb up the list of countries with low corruption and in also the Press Freedom Index, he said. President Dr. Muizu in his post insisted that this remains the outcome that the public has been craving for and reaffirmed the government's commitment to continue to work closely with the people to achieve this objective. Questioning why the opposition continues to oppose measures against corruption, the president called on his political rivals to do the responsible things and be a part of this digitization journey. An initiative by the president, Maldives 2.0 charts a reformative digital transformation whereby all state institutions work in tandem towards providing prompt, safe, and transparent services to the public. This project, which would be implemented in the next 3 years, would see revolutionary changes, placing digital transformation at the core of governance and service delivery.
The Minister of Education, Dr. Ismail Shafiu, urges society to ensure a safe and happy environment for every child.
In a special video message to mark Children's Day, celebrated today, Minister Dr. Shafiu said everyone should aim to provide a safe and happy environment for every child, which he said can only be achieved through the hard work of the whole society. According to the minister, if the whole of society can work together to provide a safe and secure environment for children, it will lead to a happy future for our children, which in turn can build a strong generation to lead the country. Every year, May 10th is celebrated as Children's Day. The theme of this year's Children's Day is Happy Relationships, Happy Times, Happy Children.
Minister of Social and Family Development, Dr. Aishat Shiham, government is committed to ensuring that every child is raised in the security and care of a family environment. Addressing the nation on National Children's Day, observed annually on 10th May, the minister framed this initiative as central to the administration's child welfare strategy, aligning with the vision outlined by President Dr. Mohamed Muiz.
Minister Aishat Shiham said that the theme of this year's National Children's Day, Happy Relationships, Happy Moments, Happy Children, reflects the government's emphasis on the impact of parental engagement. She stressed that the time spent with children and the strength of familial bonds play a decisive role in shaping their emotional and psychological well-being. Affection, guidance, and consistent care, she noted, form the bedrock of personality development, while nurturing family environment fosters confidence and social adaptability. For children to thrive, she stated that the relationships must provide stability. Those who experience meaningful connections and moments of joy, the minister said, tend to develop resilience, excelling educationally and socially. The skills gained from such an upbringing, she said, prepare them for a productive, well-adjusted life and reinforce their ability to contribute positively to society. A family, she underscored, offers the most effective foundation for moral guidance, emotional security, and acquisition of social values. Despite the government's commitment to family-based care, some children remain in the state custody due to challenging circumstances. Minister Aishat Shiham pointed to research demonstrating that institutional care is rarely the best solution for long-term child welfare. To address this, President Muizu's administration introduced Ufawehi, a program designed to transition children from state custody into family homes. Launched within the first 14 weeks of his tenure, the initiative works to reconnect children with families while simultaneously strengthening the fostering system to facilitate temporary placements. Since its implementation, the initiative has successfully placed 72 children with families, the minister noted, a milestone she sees has progress toward ensuring all children grow up in a stable household.
Prosecutor General Abbas Sharif calls for greater coordination among state institutions to reinforce the juvenile justice system, arguing that fragmented responses have left vulnerable children without adequate protection. Addressing the National Juvenile Justice Conference 2025, Sharif underscored that a unified approach would bring major revolutionary changes in child welfare across the country.
With the theme Empowering Change, Advancing Juvenile Justice and Safeguarding Children's Rights, the conference seeks to address long-standing gaps in the system through research-driven solutions. Attendees include technical representatives from 16 agencies, among them the Prosecutor's General Office, United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, Maldives Police Service, MPS, Ministry of Social and Family Development, and several academic institutions. 11 additional institutions are present as observers. During his remarks, Sharif cited a tragic incident involving a 13-year-old child, a case that underscored the consequences of its institutional silos. A criminal case against a child's abuser led to a conviction years ago, he said, adding that yet over the past decade, neither the child nor the family has received the kind of sustained, effective support they need. Agencies such as the police, Department of Juvenile Justice, and Ministry of Social and Family Development worked on the matter, yet the efforts fell short of a holistic solution. He elaborated, at the heart of the problem, Sharif explained, is the lack of an integrated framework. Institutions continue to operate within their own mandates, he explained, limiting opportunities for collaboration. Budgets shape interventions, he noted, often forcing agencies to prioritize their own policies, rather than aligning with a broader, unified strategy that would better serve affected children and families. Dr. Edward Adai, UNICEF representative to the Maldives, echoed the Prosecutor General's concerns, stressing that the well-being of children is directly tied to the stability of families and the progress of the nation. A more cohesive juvenile justice strategy, he argued, could set in motion major revolutionary changes throughout the country. The conference continues with discussions aimed at producing tangible reforms to strengthen protections for children, enhance institutional cooperation, and ensure that young victims receive the justice and care they deserve.
Economic Development and Trade Minister Mohammed Said says that the government's Maldives 2.0 initiative is expected to deliver significant benefits for businesses and investment. He made this statement in a social media post about the initiative, which is a comprehensive digital transformation effort aimed at modernizing governance, reducing bureaucratic inefficiencies, and bolstering economic growth.
The initiative was officially unveiled by President Dr. Mohamed Muizzu at the Maldives 2.0 summit held at Barcelona Nasandura Hotel in Male. The government frames the initiative as a crucial step in the country's long-term development strategy. Minister Said, in a public statement, described the program as a major national undertaking, calling for broad support and cautioning against political discord that could impede its progress. The minister stressed the need to remove bureaucratic obstacles and enhance government efficiency, pointing to Estonia, a recognized global leader in digital governance, as a model for the Maldives' modernization efforts. He noted that President Muizzu's decision to seek expertise from Estonia aligns with his broader vision of elevating the Maldives to developed nation status by 2040. Government officials believe that the initiative will do more than streamline state operations. They anticipate its impact will extend to private sector, stimulating investment and strengthening economic stability. Minister reiterated that collective cooperation rather than political division is key to ensuring its success. Described by government sources as a wide-reaching digital overhaul, Maldives 2.0 involves institutional effort to reform state operations through technology. Over the next 3 years, officials plan to integrate digital tools that will accelerate public service delivery, improve transparency, and curb corruption.
Seagrass is one of the most vital parts of the marine ecosystem. Often overlooked, these underwater meadows play a major role in supporting life, maintaining water quality, and protecting coastlines. Without seagrass, the health of the entire ocean and even life on land would be at serious risk. Seagrass is one of the most vital parts of the marine ecosystem. Often overlooked, these underwater meadows play a major role in supporting life. Seagrass meadows act like underwater forests, providing shelter and food for thousands of species. Small fish, shrimp, turtles, seahorses, and many more creatures depend on seagrass to survive. It is a critical nursery ground for young marine animals, helping them grow safely before moving into the open ocean. Like trees and plants on land, seagrass produces oxygen through photosynthesis. A large portion of the oxygen we breathe comes from the ocean, and seagrass contributes significantly to that oxygen supply. Seagrass traps sediments and filters pollutants out of the water, keeping the ocean clean and clear. Clear water allows sunlight to reach deeper levels of the sea, which is important for the survival of other plants and marine life. Many marine animals such as manatees, sea turtles, and certain species of fish feed directly on seagrass. Without it, their populations would quickly decline. The roots of seagrass plants help ensure the seabed, preventing erosion. Seagrass meadows also reduce the strength of waves during storms, helping protect coastlines from flooding and damage. Seagrass captures and stores large amounts of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, helping to slow the effects of climate change. It stores carbon up to 35 times faster than tropical rainforests. Without seagrass, many species would lose their habitat and food sources. Fish populations would fall sharply, affecting larger animals like sharks and dolphins that rely on them for food. Entire ecosystems would collapse. Without seagrass to trap sediment and pollutants, the ocean would become cloudier and dirtier. This would block sunlight, killing more underwater plants and animals. With less seagrass producing oxygen, marine animals would struggle to survive. This could even affect the oxygen we breathe on land. Seagrass plays a key role in stabilizing coastlines. Without it, erosion would increase, and communities near the coast would face greater threats from storms and rising sea levels. Seagrass acts as a major carbon sink. Without it, more carbon would stay in the atmosphere, heating the plant more quickly and making climate change worse. Seagrass is far more important than it may appear. It supports marine life, produces oxygen, keeps water clean, protects coastlines, and helps fight climate change. If seagrass meadows disappear, the marine ecosystem would collapse, affecting not just the ocean, but life on land as well. Protecting and restoring seagrass is critical for the health of our planet. New data reveals a concerning surge in colon cancer cases.
Recent study shows a sharp increase in colon cancer diagnosis among people under 50, a demographic previously thought to be at a low risk. Experts attribute the trend to increase. Colon cancer is no longer just a concern for the elderly, said Maya Patel, an oncologist at the Global Cancer Institute. We are seeing more young adults in their 30s and 40s being diagnosed, often at more advanced stages. The World Health Organization has urged countries to implement better screening programs and raise public awareness about symptoms such as persistent abdominal pain, changes in bowel habits, and rectal bleeding. Early detection significantly improves survival rates, but stigma and lack of awareness contributes to hinder timely diagnosis. In response, health ministries across various nations are launching campaigns to educate the public and promote lifestyle changes that reduce cancer risks. Medical professionals are also encouraging individuals with a family history of colorectal cancer to undergo screening earlier. As colon cancer continues to spread, experts stress the importance of vigilance, healthy living, and timely medical consultations to curb the global rise of the potentially deadly diseases.
Switzerland and the United States agreed to accelerate trade talks, Switzerland's president said after holding separate meetings with both US and Chinese officials.
President Karin Keller-Sutter said it was good that the two sides had chosen to meet in Switzerland in meetings that have been described by Trump administration officials as a step towards de-escalating tensions with China. Keller-Sutter said Switzerland wanted to be among the next countries to reach an agreement with the US on tariffs after news of a deal between Washington and London. US President Donald Trump and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer on May 8th announced a limited bilateral trade agreement that leaves in place Trump's 10% tariffs on British exports, modestly expands agricultural access for both countries, and lowers prohibitive US duties on British car exports.
Leaders from France, Germany, Poland, and the UK arrived in Kyiv after overnight train journeys from Poland for talks with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, French President Emmanuel Macron, and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz were greeted by Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha and other officials after stepping off their train. Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk arrived on a separate train and is due to join the three leaders for the meeting. This will be the first time the leaders of the four countries have traveled together to Ukraine. The summit will discuss a US and European proposal for a 30-day ceasefire in the Russian war in Ukraine that, if refused by Moscow, would see them jointly impose new sanctions, a French diplomatic source said, adding that the step had not yet been finalized.
The Women's World Cup will be expanded from 32 to 48 teams from the 2031 edition onwards, after World Soccer's governing body FIFA said its council approved the proposal at a virtual meeting.
The 48-team World Cup will adopt a 12-group format, increasing the total number of matches from 64 to 104, the same as the expanded Men's World Cup in 2026, and extending the tournament by 1 week. The 2027 Women's World Cup, which will be held in Brazil, will have 32 teams. The 2023 edition in Australia and New Zealand was the first to have 32 teams, up from 24 in the 2019 tournament hosted by France. The 2026 Men's World Cup, which will be co-hosted by the United States, Canada and Mexico, will be the first to have 48 teams. The Men's World Cup had 32 teams since the 1998 edition until the last tournament in Qatar 2022. The United States is poised to be named host of the 2031 Women's World Cup as the only bid, marking the third time the country will stage the tournament after previously hosting it in 1999 and 2003. The United Kingdom is the sole bidder for the 2035 tournament. Hosts for the 2031 and 2035 editions are yet to be ratified. In a video released by FIFA after the meeting, FIFA President Gianni Infantino also announced the council had agreed to create an Afghan refugee women's team.
Well, it's a very important day today for women's football. The FIFA Council, after having thoroughly analyzed the question, decided today to increase the number of participating teams, of participating countries in the FIFA Women's World Cup to 48. As of the edition of the FIFA Women's World Cup 2031, there will be not anymore 32 teams participating, but 48 countries from all over the world, and this is a very, very important message on what FIFA is doing for the development of the women's game, not just in a few countries, but literally all over the world. Important decision, 2031 FIFA Women's World Cup with 48 teams. Everyone, every girl, every woman in every corner of the world can hope, inspire to participate in the FIFA Women's World Cup.
Additionally, he said the council unanimously approved the revised edition of the FIFA Disciplinary Code, FDC, which he said includes additional measures and tools to fight racism in soccer.
Archaeologists excavating a former fish market in Barcelona have uncovered the wreck of a ship that may have been sunk off the Catalonian coast around 500 years ago.
The team discovered the ruined stern of a large vessel, likely to have gone down within the 15th or 16th centuries. A sizable fragment of the ship, measuring 10 meters long and 3 meters wide, with more than 30 curved wooden ribs, was found well preserved at a depth of 5 meters below sea level. Santiago Palacios, 30, director of the archaeological team, said the discovery is of great significance because well-preserved underwater archaeological remains are rare. He added that more details will emerge as the excavation progresses. According to him, what they have uncovered is a fragment of a ship, likely of Mediterranean-style construction, but with influences from the Atlantic, probably from the Basque Country or Galicia. To ensure the preservation of the naval find, the team must prevent it from drying out, meaning it must constantly be watered both day and night.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today. Have a joyful and blessed day. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.